What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Anytime Anywhere podcast. If you're returning, and this is the fifth, and if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Thank you for joining me. I am Jaleesa Kayla. Again, this is the Anytime Anywhere podcast, where you're liable to hear anything at any given time. Case in point, me stuttering. I am a human. I am not a robot. Real, living, breathing, natural person, with a soul. Let's add with a soul. Because nowadays, you could be a quote-unquote natural person, living, breathing, but do you have a soul, though? But I just wanted to come on and chat with you guys as I normally do. And I may release this no time soon, though, so I can't really say, when this will drop, if this will drop, if people will even hear it. But if you're listening to it, then hey, you made it. We made it. It made it to the masses. But today is Tuesday. I will share that with you. Today is Tuesday. I'm not going to say what date, but I know what day it is. A little portal date. But today is Tuesday. And here on the Anytime Anywhere podcast, on Tuesdays, we like to tune in with self. Tune in to what's going on around us, but most importantly, go within, and just pay attention to and give respect to what we're feeling on the inside and what's going on within us. And if you hear that clicking, yes, that is my turn-in signal because I am driving. Right now, I am in Quakertown, PA. It's funny because growing up, anytime I heard of Quakertown, I just instantly thought of oatmeal. But shout out to PA, shout out to the hometown, shout out to Philly, But I was just doing some tuning in while I was driving. I was on a back road and it was just peaceful. There was no traffic. Right now there's traffic. I'm back amongst everyone else, but for a second, oh my gosh, this road is so bumpy. But I was by myself, and I was just tuning in with self, and I was just thinking about how a part of me felt like, oh my gosh, me processing the things that I've done, that I'm currently doing, and that I see myself doing in the future. My mind went into instantly just fixate on all of what I had to do or what's coming up for me and what's on my plate versus being grateful and acknowledging what I've already accomplished and done. And I'll just share with you guys on I won't say a small scale because for me it's fucking huge, okay? But not to give away too much, I'll just share a few, key things that I've been able to overcome. Like I said, that were major for me. One of them being ice eating. I wanted to ruminate thoughts of what I still had to do and, beat myself up for still having certain urges and thinking about certain people and wanting to partake in certain things that I know probably isn't the best for me. However, I'm realizing that I'm no longer who I used to be, and although those feelings and emotions may come up, because we are creatures of habit, however, acknowledging the fact that it's gonna happen, things are not gonna just change overnight, and that message may be for someone allow yourself to rest in the changes that you've already been making. Allow yourself to rest in the thought of wanting to change for the better, for wanting to put one foot in front of the other and take the first step. Because a lot of the times, they say in therapy and things of that nature, acknowledgement is the first step. You're not going to chop a whole 20-story tree down in one swing of your axe. You have to keep chipping away at it, and that first swing is the first commitment to we getting this tree down, and that the tree just symbolizes, and I hate to use cutting down a tree because we love trees, we're tree huggers over here, And the trees make the world go round, you know? They're a part of natural divine flow. I just love me a good tree. Hi, trees. Saying hi to the trees that's around. And they waving back because it's windy outside. What's good? What's good, trees? Shout out to Mother Nature. But, yeah, like the tree just symbolizes anything that you want to tackle in your life, anything that you want to release, that you want to give up. We just had a full moon in Taurus, and I think there was like some Scorpio energy like surrounding that. And you know, Scorpio is all about, like, not all about, but a part of Scorpio's energy is, you know, the mysticism, the dark, the unknown, the uncoverings. And I feel like it has a lot to do with the releasing as well. Scorpios, you know, listen, we gonna die as many times as we need to die to be reborn again, you know, sort of like that phoenix rising from the ashes, like, type situation. And, you know, listen, a Scorpio is gonna bounce back. And then with that Taurus energy, that's all about stability and grounding and individuality and just doing what you need to do for self and knowing that you're going to be good. Like, a Taurus is going to get shit done, and they're going to... Now, what I've been hearing, because I'm not well versed with all the signs, you know, what I've been hearing is that Taurus can be a little stubborn, and not only that, they can also be like throw in your face the shit that they've got done. Like, if you were somebody who probably like used to shit on a Taurus, or like, you know, make them feel bad for what they didn't have, you know, they're all about, oh, for real, let me show you. Because they're very prosperous. They're, like I said, they're going to get the job done. They're going to see to it that they're successful, and you know, that their stability is like just there. So in order to get there, you have to release, you know, and in releasing things, it's not always going to happen overnight. Like, I quit ice cold turkey. Listen, I've been chewing ice since I was a tiny tot. Nah, let me not say tiny tot, but I was a young boy. Like, when I say it was bad, it was bad. Like, I've been chewing ice as early back as I can think. I want to say like 7, 8. Okay, I'm a grown woman now. I've been eating ice, feeding for ice. Like, it used to be so bad. Like, I used to scrape the ice out of the freezer. And I know some people are going to hear that and be like, what the fuck? Girl, or boy, like, if you don't know, then you don't know. I'm just explaining to y'all, like, this is how, like, crazy it got with just having that urge to like crunch and munch, and the sensation that came from the ice, as well as like the chemicals within it. Like, it's ice from the fucking freezer, so you know it's gonna like have a certain type of frosty smell. Listen, sent my like senses into overdrive. Taste, smell, sight, just seeing the frosty white ice. Like, I don't know, it needs to be studied further. You know, of course, a lot of doctors and people will link it to anemia, which, you know, I do. After doing my own studying, I do know that that plays a huge part in it, but it was so much more than that. Like, I would eat ice to relieve anxiety. I would eat ice when I was bored. Like, I would eat ice when like I said, anxiety, when I was anxious, when I just wanted to crunch, to like ease my mind, to ease my thoughts, to feel like I was doing something to soothe me. You know how some people suck their thumbs like babies, they need a pacifier to feel soothed. Like, ice was that for me. And it wasn't necessarily the flavor, because ice has no flavor, you know, it's just water, but it was the texture. Certain ice just gave a certain texture, and it was just so soothing, y'all. Like, if you're an ice eater, then you know what's up. Like, you know what's up for real. It can get pretty serious. You know, I know it's known that sometimes pregnant women can crave ice, but listen, when I say since I was about 7, 8, and I had women in my family who ate ice as well. So it was kind of like, I don't want to say a bonding thing. It's just something that you naturally pick up, because as kids, you know, as children, you want what the adults around you are eating or munching on or snacking on or whatever. And I remember one time I had this sore throat, and one of my elders told me, you know, eat some ice, it'll soothe it. And it kind of started from there. And I know during that time I was like 5 or 6. I went to the Chinese store. Yes, I went to the Chinese store because the Chinese store was like right next door to my home. And they knew my family. I went next door, got me a cup of ice, and from there it was, listen, I wouldn't say it kind of soothed my sore throat, but if anything, it just kind of like numbed it, because when I became an adult and I would try to soothe the sore throat with ice before I knew what I knew now, it would irritate it. And I'm like, well, why the hell did this work back then and it ain't working now? But it was more of like a numbing sensation versus actually soothing the sore throat. So anybody that's out there trying to soothe the sore throat with ice, cut it. Just don't do it. Take it from me, don't do it. But that was just one of the things, like ice chewing. I used to be a heavy smoker, like, oh my gosh. And I know it's like cold turkey isn't always the best way to, overcome something. Everyone can't just stop cold turkey. But I think what helped me, that was like a long H. Good thing my breath does not sing. Yo, y'all remember that video of that little boy that was mimicking his parents when he was recounting to them that he heard them having sex, which is wild to even think about. And it's not funny, but it was funny because the theatrics that he gave was like, oh my gosh, like, this is not good. Like, y'all should be more, on point with making sure that y'all kids can't hear y'all doing the do. However, he was like, yeah, what he said? He said, he didn't say y'all was going in. He said y'all was having it. Like, that is horrible. But that's how I just felt saying that H. Like, that was a long ass H. I just forgot what I was going to say regarding the H sound, what word I was getting out. But anyways, yeah, everyone can't stop cold turkey. I think what helped me, that's what it was that H and fucking help. What helped me go cold turkey was partially just being tired. Like, at one point in time, yes, it did serve me to smoke, but after some time it no longer served me, and I won't say that I've stopped indefinitely, but I want to say I'm going on, it's been more than a year that I have not. And at one point I felt like I would never be able to stop. I didn't start until well into adulthood, okay? Like, well into adulthood. I remember being a teenager, and before even being a teenager, I'll just say this. Just about everyone in my family consumed nicotine and marijuana in some form, right? Originally by way of smoking. It was just something that was common. And I guess it was around me so much. Like, with me personally, I seen a lot coming up to where I didn't really have an urge to do it. Now, some things I did try, but for the most part, the things that, I would see the adults around me or in my neighborhood or on TV doing, it was already, like, it was right there. So I never was like super curious to partake in it, because I would see how it would, transform them and how they would show up, and I'm just like, it's not really, something that I want to do, at least not now. Like, I'm not interested in it. And I had this one close family member that would always say, if you think about doing it, make sure you do it with us. Don't be out there smoking with nobody, because you never know what they gonna give you. And I would just watch them and be around them while they did it, but I never, did it. I never wanted to. And then in my and that was like preteen years, right? Crazy, I know. But, listen, my family is American. And if ask about the tobacco on this land, okay? That's all you gotta say, okay? So I'm not like downing my family. It's really a part of our culture, and what we did is just the what's the word I'm looking for? When you do something in excess, nothing too much of anything is not good, right? We'll just say that. Everybody can understand that. Too much of anything is not good. The intentionality behind it is no longer in alignment with culture. Like, for the most part, it's no longer in alignment with what our indigenous ancestors did, with tobacco and the intentions behind it, and, giving back to the land. Just a bunch of different factors, right? However, like, we ain't lose the actual act of doing the shit. We ain't lose the act of smoking, okay? So I'm not like coming at my family or those people of my tribe or anything like that, because it's been in us. Like, it just is what it is. So at an early age, yes, I was introduced to it. I knew what it was, not to the full extent, but I knew what it was, and it just wasn't for me. And it was told to me, like, if I'm ever going to do it, make sure I do it with them. But I never had a need to. So then once I got, into my mid-teens, now my friends from school, like, one night, we all hanging out, walking or whatever, and somebody pull out some weed, and I'm like, oh. And they're like, yeah, come on, y'all, we about to smoke, take a puff or whatever. And I took a couple puffs, and it didn't do anything. It was like doo-doo. It was dirt. And I'm glad it was dirt, because it wasn't meant for me to, get attached to it at that time. It, like, I don't know what my life would have been like had I got attached to that. And now I have an urge to, like, smoke, and I'm chasing this high, and, I'm in this space mentally, and, even within my body. Some people, get body high. Some people get head high. It's just depending on how you're consuming it. But, yeah, now I'm chasing this, and I wouldn't have been able to focus on all the things that I eventually came into, throughout my young adulthood and teenage years and stuff like that. So I didn't start smoking until like late young adulthood, like very late, right? And like I said, it was still always around me. My closest friends, people, near and dear to me, they did it. I just never partook in it. Now I did pick up hookah on my own. I did at one point pick up hookah on my own, and that was my vice of choice for a little minute. But once it became popular, like, I was doing hookah when it was not popular. Once it became popular, I kind of fell back. Like, I still did it for a while until I just didn't anymore. Because by that time, I had, like, fully switched over to marijuana. And, yeah, that was my thing. And, like I said, marijuana didn't come later on in life because, you have drinking. Most people 21, now you're legal, you could drink and all that, that was the thing to do. So, and weed stunk, like, it really did stink. So I had no, I didn't have the urge to do it. But yeah, I didn't have an urge because so many other things came before smoking. Like I said, drinking was like the thing to do, me 21, of course. And then once I got tired of that, like, once I turned into a wine girl, which didn't take a long time, but I wish I would have transitioned to wine just sooner, just because, like, spirits can be so harsh on the body and to your mind and, all of that stuff. Yeah, I wish I would have had transitioned sooner, but, things happen when it's supposed to. So, yeah, just, going through those phases and then finally getting to smoking. Like, once I got to there and I settled there, it was like, oh, this is the thing to do, outside of it being stinky. And I never really, like, got into the smell of marijuana, but I knew I was in deep with it once I started smelling, like, marijuana in the air. Like, I'd be out somewhere, maybe like Atlanta. I'd take a trip to Atlanta, and, that was one of the places where it was legal. DC was one of the places where it was legal before, it was introduced. Before it was used heavy and in a I don't give a damn type of way in my city, those were the places where it was known for. Like, DC first, they started having, like, food experiences where, it's 3-course meals and it's marijuana and, like, parties where you could smoke openly and stuff like that. And in Atlanta, that was the same thing. And in New York, which is right up the street. So it was like, oh, yeah, it's like, we lit. But I knew I was in too deep with marijuana once I would smell it in the atmosphere. Like I said, somebody would be smoking And you know how it lingers. And I was smelling, I'd be like, oh, that's dirt. Or I'd be like, oh my gosh, that smells so good. Like, that stinks so good. Like, that's how I knew when I was in too deep, when it started to stink too good. And I was like, yeah, something has to be done. But before I could end it, like, I really hit, you know, a wall with it. And like I said, it was helpful in some ways. You know, I'm not going to go too deep of how it was helpful for me, but it was definitely like an aid in my spiritual journey. I would just say that it was a huge aid in my spiritual journey. And then after a while, it became a crutch. So at first it was like a tool, like, you know, a superpower tool. And then after some time, it just became a crutch, because now I'm like consuming way more. You know, I'm not able to do this or do that before I do that, you know, meaning smoke or whatever. Like, it was a lot, right? But I had to hit that wall before I could like just stop cold turkey, because I had to get tired of it. I had to get tired of myself. I had to get tired of everything that came with wanting to consume marijuana, you know, by smoking. And yes, there was edibles, and I did, you know, play around with that and stuff. But no matter what, like, at some point, like, the smoking just became heavy. It was always around me. It consumed myself and my loved ones. And I was just like, yeah, this is not how it's supposed to be going. At least not for me. You know, I can't control anyone else's journey, but I knew for me, I just didn't like who I had become. I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. You know, smoking, like, will age you. Your lips and all that. Like, you're constantly doing this pouty, tight lip motion to pull the smoke in. You know, it does a lot to your face, to your skin, to your health. And I'm big on my health. Call me vain or whatever, but listen, it worked, okay? Not liking how I looked was one of the key factors that made me say, oh, hell no. Like, my health, I know anytime I'm looking crazy, my health is on the line. We not doing that, okay? Like, my health, my breathing, like, there were so many different things that were starting to become affected. My focus, you know, my attitude, and my peace. Like, oh, I can't feel peace or joyful or, you know, just grounded unless I'm doing, oh no, we're not doing that. Because once upon a time, I did not need this, you know, to feel at ease. For a long time, I did not need this. For a long time, I did not know what this feeling of being high was like. And I was getting through life just great, you know. Yes, there were traumas and things that happened in my life. And then, of course, smoking, whenever those thoughts or emotions would come up, it would help ease it. But like I said, after a while, it stopped being an aid and it turned into a crutch, you know. I was way too dependent on it. And before I could just go cold turkey, I had to really, 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 really be sick and tired. Because I had attempts, you know, to stop. And I would stop for like a couple days. And I had moments where I stopped for some weeks. Then I had moments where I stopped for a couple months. But then it was like right back. And yeah, I feel like since smoking, this has been the longest I've gone. And I just had to get serious about it. Like, even with finances, you know, like, just think about those individuals who take, you know, prescription pills for their health, for whatever. It could be for, I don't know, diabetes or whatever. Like, maybe you don't take pills for diabetes. I'm not well versed in that. But whatever you take pills for, you know. Or even getting, like, paying for inhaler refills for your asthma or whatever, you know. That stuff costs money. But that's, like... And I know some people will argue like, oh, well, I do need my marijuana to, you know, it's for my health and da-da-da-da. Yes, I understand that. But for me personally, like I said, it became a crutch. It was no longer a medicine. It was turning into poison. And I mean, let's be honest, like, the same weed that our parents and their parents and them was smoking, you know, back in the 70s, 80s, and even the 90s, early 2000s, it's not the same weed that was out now. So, you know, it's much more harmful. It's much more, as the streets say, stepped on, you know, before it gets to you in your backwood or whatever you like to roll up in, hemp paper or whatever. Like, it's very much so stepped on. And yeah, it just wasn't hitting the same. Like, it's not. Like, I'm feeling like a crackhead. Feeling like a crackhead, if I'm being serious, and it just wasn't, like, it's not given. I wasn't going for that. So I had to really be sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? And I was able to stop cold turkey. I know everybody can't do that. It takes a lot of willpower. It takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of courage, because once you're doing something for so long and you're on something for so long, you forget what life is like without that thing, right? So it's kind of like, even though you didn't always have this habit, you forget what life was like before you were on this thing, or before you started consuming this thing in excess. So now, once you start thinking about stopping, it's like, I'm kind of stepping into the unknown, because I've totally forgotten, what life has been like without it. So it's low key as if you've never lived a sober life, or you've never lived a life without this, said substance. It could be anything: drinking, smoking, whatever your vice of choice. It could even be food, going on a diet, like cutting back, going vegan, going alkaline, whatever, going on a fast. You might not, change what you eat, but you might decide to go on a fast. You're stepping into the unknown. You're going into unknown territory, because, hey, you've never done it. You've never been here before. And that could be scary for a lot of people. It was scary for me in different instances, like not relying on ice to help soothe me, not relying on, marijuana or other things that I was consuming to help ease my mind and to, be of an aid to help me get through the day, or to help me feel safe. And just listen, it's not the easiest. I can only, talk to y'all from my own experience. And like I said, it takes a lot of willpower. And then it also takes knowing that no one is ever going to want it more for you than you want it for yourself. Yes, your loved ones and, people close to you, family, friends, maybe even mentors, people that just know you from around your neighborhood, or, co-workers that you're close to, doctors. They will want it for you if they care about your well-being and they love you. Of course, nobody wants to see you down and out. People will want you to be in good health. They will want it for you. And they can want it really, really bad for you. However, they can't want it more for you than you want for yourself. And about 8 times out of 10, nobody's gonna want it more for you than you have to, or that you will want it for yourself. And I just knew, not even just in this instance of like substances, but just throughout life in general, when you're making choices and you're doing things for yourself and you're making decisions, like, no one's gonna want what's best for you more than you. 22. No one knows what's best for you more than you, and the Most High Great Spirit, of course. But that's another like portion of it. Like, me being able to go cold turkey, I prayed a lot. I had to pray the monkey off my back. I had to, like, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to put the intention out there. You have to put it out into the atmosphere that, this is it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm done. And I know sometimes, like, it's even made a joke, like, you might see on TV or hear different comedians or just people in general say, like, oh my gosh, God, if you get me out of this, I swear I'll never eat that again, because you on the toilet shitting your life away. Or, you just went through a bad breakup, and then you're saying, God, if you get me out of this, if you get this person away from me, like, I'll never go back to him or her. Or, I'll take a break and stop dating and just focus on myself for a while, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we find ourselves right back in those situations, and why? For some people, you just learn, like, you just feel like, oh, well, I was, swiftly taken up out of that situation. So now I feel like I can, do it again, maybe. And I'll be forgiven. All will be forgiven. And I'll be taken out again if, I get to a point where it becomes too much. And then some people just find themselves back there because it takes discipline. It takes being honest of where you are. And I was just in a space where initially, and the habit that I had built was just focusing on how much more I had to do, how much was on my plate. I was feeling guilty about having certain urges for like ice, or, not tending to the things that I should tend to. And I had to really check myself and say, you know what, just breathe. Like, first of all, let's breathe. Let's turn everything off, and let's give ourselves some grace for how far we've already come. And not only do we give ourselves grace, we give gratitude for the assistance, from the Most High Mother and Father, the Great Spirit, from our benevolent ancestors, from those entities and powers that be that do want us to do better, do want us to be better, who heard our prayers and say, you know what, they're ready. They're taking the steps. So I see them doing that. I'm going to meet them, and just being grateful for how far you've come. Whoever is hearing this, just be grateful for how far you've come versus beating yourself up for having those urges. They're going to come back up because guess what? For a long time, that was a part of your routine. It was a part of your genetic makeup. Why? Because you consume so much of it, your body started to adopt this foreign thing as now, oh, we need this. This is a part of our wake up. This is a part of our go to sleep. We know normally at 5 o'clock around this time, like we doing that. And it had, excuse me, it was going on for so long, your DNA starts to change. Your genetic makeup starts to change. The neurons in your brain, I'm not no scientist, but, it's not hard to understand how once we introduce things into our life, into our body, into our orbit and our existence, the longer we introduce it and the more repetitive it becomes, the more it becomes a part of us. It becomes a part of our routine. It's like second nature, Now we really can't function without it. And if we fall off, you'll feel the effects. When I would not smoke for a day, or, I would skip my evening smoke, or whatever the case is, now I'm feeling like I got a headache. Why? Because my body was used to this substance, And that could be something that people run away from because they just don't want to feel the pain. Either way, it was going to be pain. And I had to tell myself, listen, if I don't stop, it's painful because I don't like what I'm experiencing, right? And if I do stop, I know it's going to be painful because I have to get over the hump of being sober. It's kind of like when, heroin addicts and things of that nature, they go to therapy and they kind of wean them off versus going cold turkey because you can become sick, if you're not used to getting the dope that your body, started to rely on to function. It became a part of you. And now you're sick because you just took it away, So some people wean off of it. I just had to go cold turkey because I knew if I was weaning, I had my moments when I weaned, but I had already been there. And, although I saw change, it wasn't the full result that I needed in order to propel myself into the next timeline, to the next dimension, And that's why I mentioned today. Today is a portal day. Hopefully all of you are aware and just being intentional about the things that you think about. That's what it really boils down to, intentionality with your thoughts. Instead of beating yourself up and doing the same old thing like, oh, I still got this to go, I still got to do that, I'm feeling guilty and ashamed because I'm having these urges. I want to tap into it, but I know it's not the best for me. That's normal. It's going to happen. You just have to show and prove that you're stronger than any substance outside of you. That was something else I had to tell myself, not to beat myself up about it or talk down about myself, but it's just yo, you really giving too much power and energy to these substances and to these things outside of your body, outside of your soul, outside of your orbit, outside of yourself. You're giving it way too much energy. You're giving it way too much power. You think that this marijuana is more powerful than you? That's basically what you're putting out into the world, Yes, it's been a part of you, but that's all that's going on right now, that you're having these urges. It's not that you still have so long to go. It's not that you should be, be feeling ashamed because these emotions are coming up or because you missed that person. At some point, they meant something to you. At some point, they helped you. At some point, they were good to you. It wasn't all bad, So it's natural that you'll think of a time when things were joyous with these people or this person or this thing, and you'll be like, damn, that's what I miss. And it was great until it wasn't no longer, you know. And we just have to accept that and accept where we are in the world and watch how we talk to ourselves and just watch our thoughts, you know, from a higher perspective. Step outside of ourselves. I was just thinking, and I'll leave y'all with this, I was just thinking about how, like, damn, I just want to see myself outside of myself, you know. For one, see what everybody else sees, you know, because we can only see through our own eyes. And unless you like astral project, or you know how to like throw yourself outside of yourself, I don't know how that works. Like, you're only going to see from first person point of view, you know. And I was just like, man, I just want to see myself and my function, because sometimes that can help you. Like, when you step outside of your human self and look from a higher perspective, you can really say, you know what? I see him or her just trucking along, you know, doing the best that they can, you know, and they really come a long way. And that's such a beautiful thing versus, being in this body, I got so far to go. Like, yeah, I did a yoga sequence this morning, but I'm not liking how my body looks. Like, I didn't have as much energy today. Like, I'll never get to my goal. No, you got to chip away one moment at a time, one point at a time, one workout at a time. You're not going to do one move and now you know karate. You're not going to stretch one way and now you just ultimate flexible bull or flexible girl. Like, it doesn't happen like that. So we have to just keep those things in mind and know that extending yourself gratitude and just resting in and romanticizing the fact that change is on your mind. Romanticize the fact that you think highly of yourself and your abilities to stop, to release what no longer serves you, you know, to answer to a higher calling, to enter into a higher timeline and dimension, to transform. Like, we're so powerful. You can transform your whole shit, you know? Listen, don't give up. Don't give up. Continue to extend yourself grace. And if you haven't, you have to do, like, it's imperative that you do so. Because guess what? Either you're going to stay the same or you're going to propel into the next level in life. And we're not here to stay the same. You know, we're supposed to be growing and expanding and reaching new heights. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to compare yourself to others or see how you're measuring up to your peers. It's really you against you. Only you know the things that you've been through. Only you know the things that you're growing through. Only you know your goals and what it is that you feel in the present that you're set out to do in this lifetime. So, like I said, extend yourself grace. Take it easy. But also ask for, like, in prayer, just pray for the ultimate knowing that even though I don't feel 100% ready, I know that that next phase in life is mine already. I already foresee myself there. I already foresee myself overcoming these challenges. So just give me what it is that I need, Most High Mother and Father, to help me ease into that next level in life. But whatever you do, I mean, do it with discernment. Don't come back here saying I told you to do something, I didn't tell you to do it. Do it with discernment. But yeah, step through the portal anyway. Like, just do it. Like Nike, just do it. But anyway, you guys, I want to thank you for listening to me chat. Again, welcome back if you are not new. And welcome if you are new. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, hyping this video up if it's an option to you. Thank you so much for checking in and, you know, just chilling with me for a bit. Thank you. I want to say that I hope everyone has a really good portal, you know, transformation, and that stepping into your next timeline is like one of the most beautiful experiences that you've ever had thus far. That's what I affirm for myself, and I affirm for you listening. Thank you guys, and I will talk to y'all in my next episode. And before I go, be sure to love yourself always and always. And I will chat with you later. Bye, you guys, and happy portal jumping. Mwah.